Hello, I am David W. Parker. This is Programming Today I Learned, WebGL series, episode 104. We're going to be looking at complex objects, part 4. Today we're going to be fixing sub-object blending, so blending within these complex objects, and how do we do that? So let's go ahead and jump right in. So if we look at the previous episode, the basic thing, we're going to go ahead and set our model matrix and then pass that model matrix to each component and call every component and call its draw function. That has changed. We now have a new function on the renderer, which is draw objects, and it's going to go ahead and take in a list of objects as well as some parameters, and then a couple optional draw blended and draw opaque functions that can override the existing one within the renderer itself. These are commented out, and I'll show you what they can do in a moment. Because we are now changing the signature to take in a list of parameters, because other objects may need different things, we're not only passing the model matrix. So instead of having the old model matrix be the default, we now have a parameters be the default, and if they exist, grab that model matrix, otherwise create one. Outside of that, the cube is the same. In the renderer, we would go ahead and separate perspective and look at, and then finally go ahead and do the enabling the depth test and disabling blending and drawing those, and then re-enabling the blend and then drawing our blended objects. And so what has changed is we've abstracted this out into its own method, and we've exported it as well. So we have the same setup for our draw, except now we have this draw objects, and it takes in a list of objects. The list of objects is here, of course. There's parameters, which may include model matrix, etc. Blend function with a default, and an opaque function with its default. We're just going to go ahead and set this to a local variable for ease of use. We don't really need to do that, but I did just for the sake of it. So here we go have our blending again disabled and drawing our opaque objects. So now when we have the for each, rather than having the loop here with this anonymous inner function here, we're going to go ahead and give it a named function and have this is not parameters that are passed to this function, but rather this set of arguments are arguments within the function that will be referenced by the value of this. Same thing here for the blended. We'll have a blend function and the objects with this. So the for each will still have each individual object here, and then the reference of this will be this p parameters within each of these. So for the blended function, it would be this one here, and for the opaque function, it would be this one here. So you can, of course, obviously set them up to be differently, but for the sake of ease, make it nice and simple, we have passed it the same. So if you're following along, you're getting a little confused, we have this draw components, takes in a list of components or objects or whatever you want to call them, some parameters, goes into here, and those get set to each of these. The parameters, of course, being that it's the model matrix here, is passed into this, which is called here, and that finally gets into the cube, and it's passed here and assigned to the model matrix. So that's kind of nice. It makes everything a little cleaner and abstracts this portion out, makes it more reusable by other objects so that we can have sub-object blending. And then finally, we can also go ahead and override this. So if we wanted to go ahead and add back this draw blended function, and let's say that this object, we don't actually want it to draw anything that's blended, so we'll just comment it out. So this gets called instead of the other one within the renderer. And then we go ahead and refresh this here. It takes a second. You can see we are no longer drawing the blended object here. Alternatively, if we want to go ahead and have both, but we're only going to draw, say, the blended ones, and we're not going to draw these for some reason, we can go ahead and refresh, and you can see it's up here. So a little bit weird to do something like that, but you can. As you noticed how high up this was, by the way, and different from when we had it here. It's because of some interesting things with translations that we'll be looking at the next episode. So that's it for this episode, though. If you like what you saw, go ahead and subscribe, share a like, go on social media and share this if you will. Go to ProgrammingTIL.com and sign up for our newsletter. And have a great one. Thank you.